Cadet Vex-9 stared at the human with barely concealed disgust. The creature stood at attention, her pale skin glistening with that revolting moisture they called sweat, while her dark hair fell in uneven strands around her face. Lieutenant Maya Torres, what a primitive sound that name made when it rolled off his forked tongue. So this is what Command considers Academy material now? Vex-9's voice carried across the training deck, each word dripping with venom. His 3 eyes fixed on the human female, and his mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his kind. A hairless mammal from a backwater gravity well? The other cadets, a mix of Zalonians, Krex warriors, and even a few of the crystalline Futari, turned their attention to the spectacle. Oh, how they loved a good humiliation session. Maya's shoulders tensed, but she kept her gaze forward, her jaw set in that stubborn way these Deathworlders seemed to favor. Commander Rex Prime, a towering insectoid with the patience of a dying star, barely looked up from his tactical display. Cadet Vex-9, perhaps you'd like to demonstrate why your species considers itself superior to our human recruit? Gladly, Commander. Vex-9's tail swished behind him, the venomous barb at its tip gleaming under the harsh training bay lights. I propose a simple combat simulation. Standard rules, of course. Wouldn't want to accidentally dissolve her bones with my toxins. A few snickers echoed through the gathered cadets. Maya's knuckles whitened as her fists clenched, but still she said nothing. How quaint. The little mammal thought silence would save her from embarrassment. Very well, Commander Rex Prime's compound eyes glittered with something that might have been anticipation. Combat Simulation 7-7 Alpha. Non-lethal weapons only. Victory conditions, incapacitation or surrender. The training deck hummed to life, holographic walls materializing around a 20-meter square arena. Weapon racks rose from the floor, displaying an array of stunning rifles, shock batons, and neural disruptors. Standard Academy gear, nothing too exotic for the precious human's delicate constitution. Vex-9 selected a plasma rifle with practiced ease, its weight familiar in his 4-fingered grip. Across the arena, Maya approached the weapons more cautiously. She hefted a shock baton, tested its weight, then set it aside. A neural disruptor came next, also discarded. Strange. What was the creature thinking? Having trouble deciding, mammal? Vex-9 called out, his voice amplified by the arena's sound system. Perhaps you should surrender now and save us all the bother of watching you fail? Maya's head turned toward him, and for the first time since entering the academy, she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. In fact, it reminded Vex-9 of the predatory grins he'd seen in footage from her homeworld, the kind worn by those apex carnivores they called sharks. Oh, I've decided, she said, her voice carrying an odd lightness. I'll take these. She reached for the weapon rack's bottom shelf and withdrew, nothing. Her hands came up empty, fingers curved as if grasping invisible weapons. The arena fell silent. Even Commander Rex Prime's antennae twitched in confusion. Cadet Torres, the commander's voice carried a note of concern, you appear to be unarmed. Am I? Maya's grin widened, and she rolled her shoulders with casual confidence. Simulation parameters were non-lethal weapons only, correct? Victory by incapacitation or surrender? Correct, but, then let's begin. The holographic barriers sealed them in, and a countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vex-9 raised his plasma rifle, confident this would be over in seconds. The weapon hummed to life, its targeting system locking onto the human center mass. One shot would put her down for hours, a merciful end to this farce. He squeezed the trigger. Maya moved, not the clumsy dodge Vex-9 expected, but a fluid roll that seemed to defy the arena's artificial gravity. The plasma bolt sizzled through empty air while the human came up in a crouch, already advancing. Impossible. His species had reflexes 3 times faster than any mammals. The targeting computer should have compensated for any movement she could make. He fired again. And again, each shot found nothing but air and holographic walls. Maya wasn't just dodging, she was reading his shots before he fired them, moving in patterns that seemed almost precognitive. "Stand still, you irritating pest." Vex-9 snarled, his tail lashing in frustration. Now where would be the fun in that? Maya's voice carried a musical quality, as if she were actually enjoying herself. The distance between them closed rapidly. Vex-9 switched to rapid-fire mode, filling the air with stunning plasma. Surely nothing could dodge this volume of fire. Maya dropped to the ground and rolled sideways, her body moving like liquid mercury. She came up inside his firing arc, far too close for the rifle to be effective. Vex-9's tail whipped forward, its venomous tip aimed at her throat. Even in non-lethal mode, the neural toxin would drop her instantly. Maya's hand snapped up, catching his tail just behind the barb. Her grip was iron strong, and before he could react, she spun in place, using his own momentum against him. The world tumbled. Gravity became suggestion. Up and down lost all meaning as Vex-9 found himself airborne, his plasma rifle clattering across the arena floor. He hit the holographic wall hard enough to rattle his teeth, and slid to the ground in a dazed heap. Through blurred vision, he saw Maya standing over him, not even breathing hard. "Surrender?" she asked politely. This is impossible," he gasped. "You had no weapons. No technology. How did you?" "Oh, but I did have weapons." Maya held up her hands, flexing her fingers. 10 of them, plus 2 feet, 2 elbows, 2 knees, 1 head, and about 600 muscles that have been honed by a lifetime on a world trying to kill me. She knelt beside him, her voice dropping to a conversational tone. "See, Vex-9, where I come from, we don't get the luxury of assuming our technology will save us. We learn to be the weapon." Commander Rex Prime's voice echoed through the arena. Victory to Cadet Torres. Simulation complete. The holographic barriers dissolved, and the gathered cadets stared in stunned silence. A few jaws had actually dropped, quite literally. In the case of the Zolonian cadets, Maya straightened and offered Vex-9 a hand up. "No hard feelings?" He stared at the offered appendage as if it might bite him. Around the training deck, whispers began to spread. The human had won. Without weapons, without technology, without even breaking a sweat. How? The word escaped him before he could stop it. Maya's predatory grin returned. "Honey, that was just the warm-up." Commander Rex Prime approached, his compound eyes reflecting something that might have been respect. "Cadet Torres, that was most educational. However, I suspect Cadet Vex-9 wasn't prepared for your particular combat style." "Few are, sir." Maya's tone remained respectful, but there was steel underneath. "My homeworld doesn't believe in fair fights." "Indeed." The commander's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps we should arrange a more comprehensive demonstration." Vex-9 struggled to his feet, his pride burning more than his bruised ribs. "Commander, I demand a rematch. This time with proper weapons. Real weapons." "Now that," Maya said, her eyes gleaming with anticipation, "sounds like fun." The training deck erupted in excited chatter. Word would spread quickly through the academy. The human Deathworlder had just made her first statement. But as Vex-9 nursed his wounded ego and Maya prepared for whatever came next, none of them realized that this was only the beginning. The real demonstration was yet to come. 3 days later, Korth-Nine still hadn't recovered from the humiliation. He'd spent countless hours analyzing Maya's performance, running simulations, and desperately searching for logical explanations that didn't involve admitting that a Deathworlder had outsmarted him. The answer, he'd finally convinced himself, was simple: pure, dumb luck. "She got lucky," he repeated to anyone who would listen, which at this point was mostly his reflection in the dormitory mirror. No planning, no strategy, just random violence. That's not real combat effectiveness. Unfortunately for Korth-Nine's ego, the universe was about to provide him with an opportunity to test that theory. The Academy's monthly war games had arrived, a massive simulation that pitted entire squads against each other in complex scenarios that could last for days. This year's theme was asymmetric warfare, which meant smaller, less equipped teams would face larger, technologically superior forces. The kind of situation where superior intellect and advanced planning supposedly mattered most. Commander Thrix-7, a battle-scarred veteran whose species had evolved from predatory pack hunters, addressed the assembled cadets in the Academy's main amphitheater. His scarred hide bore the marks of 17 different conflicts, and when he spoke, even the most arrogant students paid attention. "You will be divided into teams of 5, Thrix-7 announced. Each team will be assigned a scenario based on historical conflicts. Your objective is simple: survive and complete your mission. Failure results in immediate remedial training, which I promise you will find significantly less pleasant than regular instruction." Korth-Nine felt his luck improving when he was assigned to Alpha Squad, widely considered the Academy's elite unit. His teammates included Jex Prime from the technologically superior Nexus Confederation, Korth-8 from the militaristic Dominion Fleet, and 2 other cadets whose species had conquered most of their respective galactic sectors before developing faster-than-light communication. Maya, predictably, ended up with the rejects. Her squad, callously dubbed Omega Squad by the other cadets, consisted of Pipsqueak, a diminutive being whose species was known primarily for their exceptional ability to hide under rocks when danger approached. There was also Bumblethorpe, whose civilization had achieved galactic travel entirely by accident and still hadn't figured out how to reliably operate their own spacecraft. Rounding out the team were Nerdy McNerdface, a scholar whose combat experience consisted entirely of theoretical studies, and Fluffy Destroyer, whose intimidating name masked the fact that his species were pacifistic herbivores who fainted at the sight of violence. "This is almost too easy," Korth-Nine whispered to Jex Prime as they watched Omega Squad's pathetic lineup. "We'll be facing the academic failures and the Deathworlder. It's like the Academy is giving us a free victory." The simulation zone materialized around them, a vast urban environment complete with towering spires, underground tunnel networks, and enough environmental hazards to keep things interesting. Alpha Squad found themselves positioned in a fortified command center, equipped with advanced weaponry, tactical computers, and enough firepower to level several city blocks. Omega Squad, meanwhile, spawned in what appeared to be a garbage dump on the outskirts of the city, armed with equipment that looked like it had been salvaged from a museum of military failures. "Scenario parameters are now active," Commander Thrix-7's voice echoed through the simulation. "Alpha Squad, you represent an occupying force with superior technology and resources. Your mission: maintain control of the Central Command Hub for 48 hours. Omega Squad, you represent local resistance forces. Your mission: eliminate the occupying force through any means necessary." Korth-Nine's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Not only did they have better equipment and positioning, but they also had the defensive advantage. All they had to do was sit tight, monitor their sensors, and pick off the resistance fighters as they stumbled into carefully prepared kill zones. "Standard defensive posture," he announced to his team. "Jex Prime, establish sensor networks. Korth-8, prepare overlapping fields of fire. We'll let them come to us and eliminate them systematically." For the first 6 hours, the plan worked perfectly. Alpha Squad's sophisticated sensors detected several clumsy infiltration attempts, all of which were easily repelled with minimal effort. By the end of the first day, they had eliminated Pipsqueak, Bumblethorpe, and Nerdy McNerdface through textbook defensive operations. 3 down, 2 to go, Korth-Nine announced smugly. The Deathworlder and the herbivore shouldn't last much longer. This is exactly why superior tactics always triumph over primitive aggression. That's when the power went out, not just in their building, in the entire simulation zone. Every system, every sensor, every piece of advanced technology that Alpha Squad had been relying on simply stopped working. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting eerie shadows throughout their command center. "What happened?" Jex Prime demanded, frantically trying to reactivate his sensor arrays. "This isn't part of the scenario parameters." Before anyone could answer, something went wrong with the building's structural integrity. Not catastrophically wrong, just small things. A support beam here, a load-bearing wall there, tiny fractures that suggested the building's foundation was becoming increasingly unstable. Sabotage, Korth-Nine whispered, checking his weapons. They're in the infrastructure levels. Over the next 12 hours, Alpha Squad's carefully prepared fortress became a death trap. The elevators stopped working, forcing them to use stairwells that seemed to shift and change when no one was looking. Their communication systems suffered mysterious interference. Water pipes burst in strategic locations, flooding critical areas and forcing them to abandon prepared positions. And through it all, they caught occasional glimpses of Maya Torres, moving through their compound like a ghost with a very specific grudge against functional architecture. How is she doing this? Korth-Nine demanded after discovering that someone had somehow rewired their tactical computers to display nothing but cute pictures of Earth animals. She's supposed to be trapped in the lower levels. I don't think she's trapped, Vex-12 observed nervously. I think we are. The horrible truth began to dawn on them as their situation deteriorated. While they had been focused on defending their position, Maya had been systematically dismantling everything that made their position defensible. She hadn't tried to fight them directly, instead, she had turned their own fortress against them. The building's air circulation system began pumping in smoke from carefully placed fires. The water supply became contaminated with something that made everyone violently ill. The emergency lighting started flickering in patterns that seemed designed to induce seizures. This isn't warfare, Jex Prime complained, clutching his stomach as another wave of nausea hit him. This is terrorism. No, came Maya's voice over the intercom system, which she had apparently hijacked at some point. This is Tuesday. By hour 36, Alpha Squad was reduced to huddling in a single room, surrounded by the smoking ruins of their technological superiority. They were sick, exhausted, demoralized, and completely out of ideas. Every system they tried to use either didn't work or actively made their situation worse. That's when Fluffy Destroyer made his entrance. The pacifistic herbivore walked through their front door, which Maya had apparently unlocked from somewhere else in the building, carrying what appeared to be a bouquet of flowers and wearing the kind of peaceful smile that his species was famous for. "Hello, friends," Fluffy Destroyer said pleasantly. "I hope you're having a lovely day. Maya asked me to deliver this message." He handed Korth-Nine a handwritten note. In neat, precise handwriting, it read, "Surrender now, or I start getting creative with the plumbing system. You really don't want to know what I can do with the sewage pumps." Empty. Korth-Nine stared at the note, then at Fluffy Destroyer's cheerful expression, then at the ruins of everything he had thought he understood about warfare. In the distance, he could hear Maya humming what sounded like an ancient Earth war song while doing something unspeakable to the building's HVAC system. "I surrender," he whispered. "Excellent choice." Fluffy Destroyer beamed. "Maya will be so pleased. She's been having such fun with the infrastructure. Did you know your species' waste disposal systems have 17 different failure points? Maya found all of them." Later, during the debriefing session, Commander Thrix-7 stood before the assembled cadets with an expression that mixed professional admiration with personal horror. In 47 years of military service, he began slowly, "I have never witnessed a more complete tactical dismantling of a superior force. Omega Squad's victory represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of asymmetric warfare." Korth-Nine sat in the back row, his mandibles clamped shut in mortified silence. Around him, other cadets whispered in odd tones about Maya's performance, using words like genius, revolutionary, and absolutely terrifying. "The Deathworlder's approach," Thrix-7 continued, "demonstrates that advanced technology is only as effective as the infrastructure supporting it. When that infrastructure becomes a weapon against you, superiority becomes liability." Maya herself sat near the front, looking as bored as she had on the first day. When Thrix-7 asked if she had any insights to share about her tactical approach, she simply shrugged. "Fighting fair is for sports," she said. "Fighting to win is for everything else." As the debriefing ended and cadets began filing out, Korth-Nine found himself approaching Maya despite every instinct screaming at him to run in the opposite direction. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you know about the building systems? How did you predict our responses? How did you coordinate with your team when all communications were down?" Maya looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Because, bug boy," she said patiently, "while you were busy being superior, I was busy paying attention. Your species builds everything the same way, efficiently, logically, predictably. Once you understand the pattern, the rest is just applied vandalism." She paused, considering whether to elaborate. "Also, Fluffy's people might be pacifists, but they're really good at sneaking around. Turns out being herbivores makes them excellent at avoiding predators." "Who knew?" As Maya walked away, Korth-Nine stood frozen in the corridor, processing the implications of what he had just learned. His species' greatest strength, their logical, systematic approach to everything, had been turned into their greatest weakness by a creature whose species still settled disputes by throwing things at each other. Somewhere in the back of his mind, that small voice was speaking again. This time, it was suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had been underestimating Deathworlders for a very long time, and if one human cadet could do this much damage in a training simulation, what would happen when they encountered humans in actual combat? Korth-Nine decided he really didn't want to find out.